The best war game that you've never heard of. That's the question in this vlog. And I'm asking that question as a wargaming, board gaming enthusiast. I'm always open to new titles and new suggestions. So within that framework, I was looking at some of the different wargaming titles in my collection, and I realized that it really spans two extremes. You have certain wargaming systems like Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer 40K. It's going to take up a massive amount of table. You've got massive scenery. You've got different armies. Some would say it's possibly a lifestyle. So we've got some very, very big war games, playing historicals, possibly even playing X-Wing miniatures. I mean, X-Wing miniatures, certainly you can play a small tabletop game, but we've played large games with capital ships and lots of fighters on the table. But on the opposite side, certain war games can be very, very compact. Kind of the old classic hex-based war games in a box. Focusing a little bit more on that, this idea of a wargaming experience in a box, portable. Now, where do skirmish war games fall within that? Something like God Tier, a fantastic skirmish-based war game, pushed that up under the God Tier playlist. Different war bands, nice little board game package, plays very, very quick, very tactical, doesn't have a massive footprint. But the best war game, or some of the best war games you've never heard of, or perhaps you have heard of, Ogre. I was looking at Ogre, saying to myself, I haven't played this game in a long time. We've got to schedule some Ogre. And this is kind of a classic 80s pocket game. It's been through a lot of different implementations in that you've got a miniature-based game, you've got a hex-based game, you've got the massive Kickstarter box game, which that was actually the first Kickstarter that I backed because I loved playing Ogre growing up with some friends. And I don't know, something happened along the way where I lost my copy. Most likely I lent it to a friend and it just kind of disappeared, or I lent it away and was like, well, when I need it, I'll get it. And that happens. So jumping in with the Kickstarter was a way to kind of make amends and replace that. But what an interesting, solid war game. It's got tanks. So right away, I'm into it. And this idea of a cybernetic, futuristic battlefield of monstrous, massive AI-controlled tanks, which seems fitting because apparently AI is going to replace everything that we do. And it plays where you can either play the tank attacking an outpost with tanks and infantry and missile support. You can have one player play the tank, one player play the outpost. You can also have the tank go on a simplified AI where it moves closer, closer, and closer. And you have to kind of decide where you want to attack with the tank. So not only different units to play it, but what I really liked was this was one of the first war games where I experienced damaged systems where things got crippled because the Ogre tank, depending on the version of the tank, and again, this is like a massive, massive tank, you can attack the treads and slow it down. You can attack the primary weapons. You can attack the secondary weapons. You have to kind of come up with a strategy of how you're going to stop this tank based on the outpost and based on the terrain. So exploring those different areas of the game was a lot of fun. So I'm looking at this box right here and I'm like, I need to jump back in, show some love to Ogre because it's a great, great wargaming experience in a box. Your recommendation. So we're going to put aside massive games like Warhammer 40K, compact wargaming experiences. What would you recommend for the pull out and play experience?